Right, I'll put the bait out in 2 spots. Now we'll put the hook bait on. Just wet the elastic, make sure that runs okay. Select a worm. Nip it on by the head. Like so. And obviously that's far too big a bait for the moment. So what I do is I take my snippers and snip it to about where I think I want the bait to be. And that is the perfect size bait for what we're hopefully going to catch a bit of everything today. Let's see how we get on. It's dead depth, this one. The other one's set just an inch over depth for hopefully a visitor. Put it where the bait went. All we do, once it's had a few seconds to settle, just lift the float half out of the water, drop it straight back in again. And that little bit of movement with the worm that's already down there wiggling usually gets a bit of a response. Little bite then. See if we can tease him into giving us a better bite. Very shallow here, but we should be alright. It's quite warm. Be better when it's colder and you feed the worm as is, no ground bait, no additives, and then it comes into its own then. The colder it gets, the clearer the water, you'll still get plenty of bites. If you do it right, in the winter you have to put your initial feed in, fish it right out. Today I shouldn't think we'd do that. We'll probably have to put a little bit in every now and again to keep them interested. That's a bite. Oh, touched him. And in the winter it's very important to fish it right out. Make sure you haven't had a bite for 10 minutes before you put it in, because if you put it on top of them, a bit like punch bread, they're not at all happy with it. Make sure you've had all your fish off of that line. A little bite again then. See if we can tease him. First fish will probably be a little roach. As I say, the worm will catch everything that swims. Be nice to see a little couple of F1 hybrid carp today, and perhaps a little chub or barbel. We'll see. Little tease. A little bite there. Put a little ball of ground bait in to my left by a tree. I'll show you it later. That's where I'd expect to see a perch. That was a nice bite. Perch in here to over £3, so it'd be nice to see one of those today. Ooh, little lift bite there. again, just give him a little tease, make him think the bait's getting away. If you find because worm's quite a heavy bait, if you find that your float is a little bit too low in the water, just put a little bit of Vaseline on the top. It will sit out above the water then, but it won't cause the fish any more sort of feeling when they take the float. It will still be very sensitive. I'll show you that on the next put in. I'll put a little bit of orange Vaseline on it, just to lift it out a tiny bit. Just check your worms on every now and again, because they're very adept at taking them off. There we are. Good roach. First fish of the day, little roach, bit hooked. Come here. He's fell in the well. He's back. He's alright. Right, I'll put a bit of Vaseline on. Help a bit. As you can see, it's just a little tub of orange Vaseline. I've had it years. It lasts forever. But you just dip the tip of the float in, like so. Get a bit of Vaseline on the tip. And that will hold it up guys. Select another bit of worm. Again, I always put it on by the head. Everybody's got different ways of doing it, but that's just my way. And then select what size of bait you want. Give it a snip. Irresistible. Out over the bait, lay it in. Now you should see the Vaseline is holding the float up a little bit higher, but with no more resistance than it had before, so it's easier for you to see. Little bite then. So if you get any little digs, just lift your float out, half the float, drop it back in again. Little bite there, lift bite. Little tease. See how it's running? I think that's a rud. Catch a fish of all sizes, from the very smallest to the biggest. Carp like a bit of worm as well. Little tiny roach. always put a fresh bit of bait on, because you'll find that it's the movement that attracts. So the bait that's caught you a fish is probably past its best. Let's put a bigger bit on, see how that goes. In. We'll bite straight away. A little bit better fish. Another little roach. Bite's coming thick and fast now, which is a good sign. He's taking it down as well, so he was hungry. Fresh bit of bait. I've got a competition here next Sunday, which is a species competition, and I intend to fish it exclusively with the worm. I've got half a kilo ordered, which is quite a substantial amount of worm, so I shall be fishing worm alone and hopefully catch several different species. Not to worry about that next Sunday. The weather might change, it might go a bit colder, which would mean it'd be even better for the worm. In. This lake, after a couple of frosts, does tend to go quite hard. Last year I was amazed how difficult it was to catch a fish, period, no matter what species. But this year I'm going to, now I know that happens. I should be prepared. There's a rudd. Fish it very gently indeed. No more big pots of bait in. Another little roach. That bait is okay. We can go back out with that. Few little bubbles appearing now around the area I put the bait in, so could be a skimmer or two on the look for a bit of grub. With the teas. It's a beautiful morning. Of course, today's the day our dear Queen gets laid to rest. At Westminster Abbey, they're expecting crowds of over 200,000, so it's probably a good thing that the weather's nice, because if you were standing there for lots of hours in the rain, it would do you a lot of good. Ooh. So the fish again. Got a tree behind me which is giving me quite a bit of jip at this distance. Oh yeah, that's a little bit better roach, a couple of ounces. Always nip up with the worm, unless if you find they are taking it deep, shallow up a little bit. I'll put a fresh worm on there now because that's lost its wriggle. A little bit bigger bit again. We'll stay with this till my battery runs out. Usually it gives me about 20 minutes on the camera, and then what I'll do is I'll change the batteries and we'll have a look down by that tree and see if we can find a perch. But there's plenty of fish out here, and of course as you see we didn't put a great deal of bait in, so they're having to search for it. It's not just sort of there for them to grab and have their fill and swim off. So it's keeping them busy. Bite again. Not quite sure what he wants to do with it, so I'll give him a tease. Sometimes when you give it that tease you actually feel the fish as you pull it away, so if it's a perch it just grabs it. Still the odd chance of an eel, some big eels in here as well, over 3 pounds. Don't particularly want one on this elastic, but if we get one we'll give it a go. Oh dear me, look at the size of this. Oh, he's come off. Blimey, that was the smallest fish I've seen. That looked more like the bait than a fish. Little bite. Still, it's a good sign the small fish are milling round it. That means the predators, i.e. perch and eels, won't be far behind them. About 5 anglers on here today. I got here just about 8:30. That sun now is quite warm. Ooh, that was a better bite. Should let that develop. That's the other thing with the worm, you don't want to be too keen. You can afford to let the float, you know, really go away. Especially with perch, because they're quite bony mouthed. A couple of little digs then. Run as well. Running like crazy. Let him get on with it for a second. Usually means it's a small fish. Grab the bait and run it off with it. really do want the float to go away rather than running about. It is one of my most favourite methods, this and hemp and bread punch, and of course they're all great winter fishing techniques, so I'm looking forward to this winter. Now I know that this lake gets a little bit tricky. A lot of small fish out there at the moment. Bites are starting to quieten down, so I might have to put a little ball of ground bait here in just a second. I thought it would be that way because, as I say, the water's still quite warm, but in the winter the bites are slower anyway because the fish are much slower, so you do have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Ah, that's a bit of fish. That could be our first skimmer. Oh yes, let's give it a bream. Happy net. That's better. Nice size skimmer, 12 ounces. Again, you can see where the worm is, just in the corner of the mouth. Much more positive bite as well. You can tell that that was probably going to be a better fish. I'll have another put-in out there before I put any bait in, just to make sure that they are pretty much done on that. Worm looks okay, but I'm going to change it anyway. Just chuck it back in the tub. Get myself some fresh hookers out. Just drop them in with the ground bait because why